daydreaming about dragons, thinking about Thanksgiving, and it's a nice way to reflect back on gaming and the hobby in general, just to think about what you're grateful for, which is nice. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I get to play the games I've gotten to play this past year. There's been some really wonderful ones. I'm grateful that I'm able to go online and play with people all over the world. That's amazing. I'm grateful that the people I play with continually surprise me. And when I throw things out there, I never know how it's going to end up. So I don't even try. I put that first initial conflict out on the table and then go from there, because there's just no way to know, because they're all so wonderfully imaginative. That is nice. I am grateful that I have friends and family who support my zany creative endeavors, gaming and otherwise. That's very nice. And I'm grateful that the gaming community at large is out there, that when we do play it, very often, when we're streaming, there are people watching and taking part and giving feedback and offering that great back and forth that is cool in streaming, and definitely not cool all the time. I like to also game off stream. I think talking about playing streaming is going to be its own thing, and I'm hesitant to do it because the most I've ever had in the chat is like 19 people. And so I feel like a real amateur, because I am a real amateur. But that's probably a topic for a future episode. So if you have any questions about that, hit me up, because I think it's worth talking about. Grateful for good community. I went to Metatopia a couple weeks ago, and it was lovely. It's just lovely to see everyone, and lovely to share love of gaming with these mad amazing people. And I am also very grateful that you're out there listening. I really appreciate all the feedback and the positive things people have said over the past couple months about the show. I know it has not been coming out as regularly as it used to, and I'm kind of figuring out the new equilibrium with the new life. And before the start of the new year, I'll figure out the new rhythm and come to you with that, whether it's going to be bi-weekly or monthly, or I'm going to get back on a weekly cycle. We'll see how that goes. But I'll have that sorted out in the beginning of 2020. So thank you for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. And also grateful for all the amazing, the Inspiration Goat is just being fed. There's so much good nerd media right now. It's just incredible. Mandolorian is fun. Watchmen is shockingly amazing. I just watched Dragon Prince Season 3, which was nuts. And yeah, check it out. I'm grateful for that. So much good media. So many good books. It's daunting because I just don't know when I'm going to have the time to read it all. So good stuff. I hope you're having if you're in the States and Thanksgiving is your thing, I hope you're having a lovely meal with lovely people, or whatever your tradition is. And if you're not in the States, I hope you're having a good Thursday. And I will talk to you soon. Inspiration Goat, I'm grateful you're here. What have you got for me? The Mandolorian. Okay, Inspiration Goat. All right. Some new hotness coming at you. I've only seen chapter 1. I don't want to go over it too specifically. What I want to go over it, I want to look at The Mandalorian and think about how we can look for examples of failed roles, or roles where it's not a pure success, things get complicated. Okay? Let's do that. Let's do that. Which is strange, because The Mandalorian seems to be hyper competent. So cool, right? Just pulling that Boba Fett vibe. So, why failed roles? Well, it comes from a conversation I had with Strash. Because Strash is an awesome person and a friend, and someone who, when I talk to them about fiction and gaming, I always come away with something interesting. And I very often come away with a podcast segment. So the part that Strash mentioned was the whole ambush with IG-11 and the Mandolorian and this bounty hunting droid are walking into this heavily fortified compound. It's very well guarded. They're there to get an asset. There will be spoilers for the first chapter of The Mandalorian coming. So just so you know, it's coming. All right, because I have to talk about the end. And they're penned in, and they can't get through, and they can't drive these folks off. And I feel like there was a moment, it felt very much like a Blades in the Dark moment, or a Forged in the Dark moment, where they're in risky, there's two of you, you've got hand blasters, there's dozens of these guys, you're trying to blast your way through. It might even have been risky standard. Yeah, it's risky standard. Roll. Can you blast your way through and get to the asset? No. It's a failed roll. Okay, what we're going to do is, instead of just saying you fail and you take damage, what we're going to do is we're going to escalate it to a desperate standard. And that's when the heavy artillery Gatling laser comes in. And things get real. And that thing starts spitting lasers at them. Leads to cool stuff. But what I want to talk about is, as the GM, you're looking at you've got these jobs. You're not sure which one the player character is going to take. Let's talk about as if this was a bounty hunting game, right? You're running this cool game. You've got one player. Maybe let's say Mandalorian and IG-11, the bounty hunting droid, are both players, right? And it's just going to be a quick game. And you've got these vague jobs, and to your surprise, the Mandalorian player picks the weird one with high risk but high reward that doesn't have a bounty puck, right? Non-traditional. You got to go and talk to this person in person. Cool. You rock in there. IG-11 is the other player. They're with you, and you have like as the GM, maybe you've got an idea of how many people are there. They all have blasters. You're not really sure if they have anything else. You're pretty sure they don't have a ship, or if they do, it's away. And what else have you got, right? You've got a cool map of their little fort, and that's it. Great. Player rolls, says risky standard. I'm just going to blast my way through, get to the asset. I'm not trying to kill everybody, trying to blast through. Nope, you fail. So you decide what to do. Do you do damage? You don't really want to do damage right now. Okay, you're pinned in, and now you're in a desperate situation. The Gatling laser comes out. Cool. Now, as the GM, you didn't necessarily know the Gatling laser was there. You're like, oh, snap, they have a Gatling laser. And I like that. I like where you've done some prep, you've done some planning, you know what's around, you know why these folks have the asset, but you don't know everything. And the dice unveil something to you. Hey, this is a desperate situation. What escalates it? Oh, snap, they've got a Gatling laser. I just like that. I like that aspect of it. I like having some prep done, but leaving white space for yourself. So you might not know everything. Does that make sense? All right. Now, the next failed roll is a doozy. Let's get to it. Okay, so the next failed roll probably happened earlier at the table, right? You give the player who's playing the Mandalorian the info about the job, and maybe they ask you some questions, maybe they don't. So maybe it was a failed roll where they say, so it's a 50-year-old Yoda-like being. Okay, same species as Yoda. Okay. So maybe the player said, what do I know about these folks? What do I know about their culture? What do I know about their species? And you rolled, and you said, you don't know shit. You don't know anything. Maybe that happened. Or maybe the player said, how old is it? And you said 50. Smirking to yourself, knowing that 50 is still a baby because they age so slowly. And they didn't ask follow-up questions. They were like, all right, whatever, I'm not going to make a roll. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to make that info roll. Who cares? I love doing things like that, putting players in weird positions where a job isn't totally sideways, but forces them to make some decisions. And I love doing it early in the game, right? If IG-11, if the bounty droid is an NPC, that's totally something I would do. Is have IG-11 say, well, we're going to blast the baby and we'll take in its corpse. Let's see what kind of person this is. He's been kind of cold so far. How cold? How cold is he? I love finding that out. Those are the kind of in-job moments that I love in Blades in the Dark, and mission moments in Band of Blades, all that kind of stuff. You see it in D&D too, right? The hireling is, you're trying to get out of there. The hireling slips and falls. The goblin hordes are running. Do you help them up or do you leave them? What kind of adventurer are you? When the chips are down, you've only got 2 hit points left. How much are you willing to risk? That is interesting to me. And so it's cool. We get a little bit of background on the Mandalorian and what their limits are. And I think that's really neat. And it's off of really either a failed roll or the player failing to ask questions and find out more, which is cool. I think that's fun. It's good stuff. So 2 key failed rolls in The Mandalorian. I think they're interesting, and I think they're worth taking a look at. And clearly, with the Gatling laser, the follow-up roll, the desperate standard roll to jump on the Gatling laser and take it over and start beating on people was, if not a critical success, probably a critical success, right? It's pretty damn good. So, interesting. Failed rolls in The Mandalorian. That's where we're at. Cool stuff. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought. I'm into it. I think it's fun, and I would love to hear your thoughts on how it inspires you to think about gaming. And curious to hear it. Let's get to how you can offer those thoughts in the outro. Inspiration Goat is used with permission from Janaki Parthasarathi, who speaks fluent Goat, one of her many amazing talents.